Make this. There we go. So, so, uh, hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Adebayo. A lot of people call me Chief. Welcome to the Chatterbox. It's the first of its type on our channel, and I've got four fantastic professionals as my guests today. Um, I'm going to introduce them to you guys without wasting your time. First, I have Lavanya Mohan. Lavanya is a seasoned test professional. A lot of people knows her, so I'm just going to run through them because these are all people that all of us know, and most some of them are my mentors as well. We have Naveen. Naveen is quite very popular. We have Ajay. I've known Ajay for a very, 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 very long time. And then we have Faiz Modi. Is a founder of the Test Chat group as well. Welcome everybody. Welcome my guests. How are you guys doing?
Thank you, Teapot. We are good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good to have you all on. So, we want to talk about challenges around automation today. So I'll give each of you a few minutes to start talking generally about challenges around automation. Just your introduction to the topic. What do you want us to think about when we think about that before we go into any questions? Each of you have 3 to 5 minutes. So I'll start with Lavanya. You go first. Ladies first.
Right, thanks. So when I talk to people and speak about challenges in automation, right, mostly people talk about, let's say, something like flaky tests or maintenance or frameworks. But for me, it's almost none of them, right? It's almost nothing to do with automation at all. For me, it's to do with mindset or the approach that people take. And let me elaborate that a bit. So usually when we talk about automation, I think a lot of us just think about checks, basically taking a few test cases and then maybe adding checks for that automatic, like through algorithms, right? And also we think about these checks driven through UI. And I feel that we are limiting ourselves with this kind of an idea about automation, right? I feel like automation is way more than just checks. It could be just anything, right? Any tool that assists us to do our testing better. And also, when we think about just like checks from driven through UI, then we probably are not having conversations about whether the test is actually giving us value at that layer. Should it be at a lower level? Uh, and such important discussions are probably not happening. So for me, like I would call this kind of an approach a challenge because it's not easy to change the mindset of people in overnight. It will take time, and people need to maybe experience it and see for themselves or hear from others what has worked, what hasn't, and then they may be able to broaden their opinion as well. And yeah, so for me, this is why I think that our approach is one of the challenges in automation. It's nothing to do with tools. It's our mindset. It's about how we collaborate or how we do not collaborate and things like that. That would be my answer.
Thank you, Lavanya. That's really good. I think you speak for a lot of us as well, talking about the mindset. I'll move on to Ajay. Ajay, what do you think about this? What,
Right. I was making notes when Lavanya was speaking. and I thought, Lavanya, those are my points, right? But good. I mean, mindset going one layer down, which I learned from Rahul Verma, the gold heuristic. Go one layer down, right? Those two are definitely important. And when coming to my thoughts, the expectations out of automation, when someone says, okay, let's get it automated, people start expecting magic to happen, which is unfortunate, for the simple reason being, without understanding how difficult it is, or is there even a need for automation, just following someone saying, oh, they are successful because they automate, let's go ahead and automate. Okay, without considering the skill set, without considering the product, the ecosystem, the people, and the timing of automation. Right. So my first point would be expectations, and the second is something related to uh, test design. See, if you put garbage in, you will get garbage out, whether it is through automation or without automation. Now it depends on how quickly you want that out, right? If you want quickly, yeah, go ahead, automate. But if it does not add value, it does not help, whether you did it in 2 days or you did it in 2 minutes. If you focus on the wrong things and then claim that, yes, I have automated this and it is still not adding value, we need to go back and think, did we first pick the right things to automate? Are we using automation for its real power? So I would leave with these two questions. What are your expectations from automation? And then what are you using automation for? Is automation the solution for your problem? Or you are taking automation as the solution irrespective of the problem? Thanks, Adibir.
Thank you, Ajay. That is a really deep question, and I think a lot of people would resonate with that. Thank you so much, Ajay. I'll move on to Faiz. Faiz, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so what Lavanya and Ajay have said, I agree with that, and I can repeat Ajay's sentence maybe that they also like kind of uh, mentioned the points which I was thinking. So I will uh, try to tell the next things. So I think apart from what they have said, like means there are challenges with people's So if I try to summarize it, or if I try to tell it in my words, so. The main challenge which we are facing with test automation is regarding the mindset or regarding the lack of clarity which people are having with respect to the automation. So those things are creating all this kind of, I can say, chaos. But I think the main so that remains the challenge. Of course, that remains the challenge. But apart from that, what I think is that one of the main challenge I can say that is people do not understand that if they want to be good at test automation, they have to get their basics clear, not only for testing but also for automation. If they are going with either of them, then they won't be able to then they won't be that much good enough. So they need to understand that once a person need to get their basics clear regarding whether it's for test or automation, and then maybe that try to look towards tools. So what people nowadays are doing, mostly they look towards tools first, and then they are like they are going to reverse flow, and that's why it's becoming challenging for everyone. So I think that's what I would like to say.
Oh, thank you so much, Faiz. I think I also agree with that. We need to understand that automation is part of testing. Testing is not part of automation. So that is really cool. I'll move to Naveen. Naveen, um, what do you have to say about this as a start?
Yeah, for I totally agree with all three of you that first of all, according to me, that either it is testing through automation or you're doing manually or whatever. I believe that our roots are QA. End of the day, you are QA. You have to do testing. Some people, what they prefer, in fact, I won't say it's a people's problem. The problem with the management and the organization that everybody is expecting that some magic will happen in next 2 days, and then I have seen a lot of hiring manager and a lot of engineering manager. They expect that, okay, let's automate these 100 scenarios in next 3 4 days, and then there are certain tools are available, and they don't have any background about automation, and that is a kind of I would say a totally unexpectation from, kind of wrong expectation from the management, that this is what they are expecting. Second thing is that the right resources. If you don't have resources not about only the number of people that you have, automation good engineers that you have all the functional testers, you don't have any resources, and then you are expecting something will happen. So these are the two major challenges from the management side. They have to think about it. They should not have that unnecessary expectation that let's do automation and then do that. Tools, programming, which language, and all those things will come into the picture later. The first thing is that you should find the right thing, that okay, do we really need automation or not? If you are every regression cycle and every 2 weeks you are spending 7 to 8 days with four folks on four browsers for cross browser testing, four different machines, you are taking 7 days to execute these 1,000 test cases, then there is a need of automation. You have to think about it. You have to automate at least 30 40% test cases that you have to automate, so that you will get some relief time for the manual testers, so that they can spend time on the manual testing as well. And the rest of the things are getting automated through automation tool, or getting checked by automation tools. Another thing is that the problem with the most of the these days, what is happening, especially from last couple of years, that everybody is just running behind the automation, and they are not following the proper things, proper patterns, proper concepts, proper architecture of the automation, how to design the framework at the org level. Everybody is just getting the knowledge and trying to get involved over there. I think management also think about in that level also. They should hire some really really good experienced people who can deliver the things, who can suggest the people that this is kind of solution that we are expecting. Not like, okay, just three or random folks are coming and then doing some automation, and nobody's going to do the maintenance of those automation framework, and after 2 months it's totally dead. And then again you will hire someone else, and then you will start from zero, and the same repetitive things you are doing from next couple of years. And then in that case you will never leverage your automation. That is what my thinking. These are the major challenges. The tools, every tool is great in the market. A lot of enhancement, a lot of development communities are there in the market. They're doing a lot of great work with respect to automation. Every tool is good, but tool preference and all those things will come into the picture later. But first you have to decide, do we really need to go for automation? Is it a really need for automation in my team, in my project, or not? I think that is what I personally believe that.
Thank you so much, guys. Those are high opening statement, and I was writing notes while you guys were talking, and I just gonna wrap that up before we go into question with something that I usually tell people. Um, when you have to do what Navin's just described, you run your regression every couple of weeks, and then you use four resources to do it, and then you do that constantly. Your automation have actually become manual. Is gone from automation to manual, because now you have to call someone to say, all right, we need to roast those tests again. You need to look at those things again. The moment I have to tell you to do something again, I think the benefit of automation is eroded, first of all. And you can have very good automation experts, very good system. That's not enough to give you a very solid automation program. There's something in between strategy and plan, and we all must remember that. Thank you so much, everyone. So now I've got some couple of questions. I want the questions to be in logical sequence as well, so we can go from one to another. So I'll start. So going from what we've just said, what are the challenges we could think about around assessing or risk assessing automation when we want to go into automation? What sort of challenges do we see or foresee or have we experienced around risk assessing the kind of automation or tool, or what do you think are kind of challenges around that before we actually start automating any test? I'll go with Lavanya first.
Um, I think one of the challenges that we don't assess risks at all, right? Like a lot of times. Um, so, so it's important that we understand what problem we are trying to solve, and then like just start questioning, right? That like Naveen already spoke about, that can it actually even be automated? If yes, will it give value? And what I mean by value is, let's say that you can do some automation for something, but that's going to take you 20 days. But it's an area which is probably never going to be not going to change. And even if it breaks, it's probably not going to have a major impact. So then is it worth spending those 20 days trying to automate that in the first place? Right? Those kind of questions we probably don't ask upfront. And even when it comes to tools, we do not there are multiple tools available, right? And maybe a lot of them can solve this particular problem that we have. So we need a way to figure out which is probably better for our use case. And what I see a lot of times is that people just because some X tool is very famous and most people are using it, they just pick that up and do it, right? But that might not be the best tool for your particular use case. So thinking on those lines is important. I think we're missing those as well. And actually, since we're talking about this, right, I want to point out. So when let's say developers are trying to integrate some new library to do something in their code, and there are multiple libraries that probably do something similar, right? What do? They usually have something called as, I mean, we used to call it spikes, we can call it proof of concept or anything, where they just try out that library in with a scratch code, not necessarily nicely written code because it's going to be throwaway code anyway. And then just see how it actually behaves for our use case. And then based on that, we could just compare these two or three, whatever different libraries, and then figure out which is good for us. So developers are doing that. Why can't we do that in our automation framework as well? We want to decide a tool, there are multiple. Instead of just going after the one that is probably most famous, why not just try out those couple of tools for our own use case and see which one works better, which one doesn't. And in the end, right, it has to be a collaborative decision. It cannot be just a tester only decision or just a one person, one manager decision. It can't be like that, because in the end, you want your entire team to use the framework that you're building, right? If a developer checks in code and your tests fail, but the developer doesn't care about the test failure at all, doesn't look at it, then it's not really giving fast feedback or whatever, all those other values that we spoke about, right? So it needs to be a team decision in the end. And there are going to be disagreements. Some people may not agree with something, but at least hear everybody out, and then everyone will contribute to this anyway. So for me, when it comes to risk assessment, actually we're not even really doing, a lot of times we don't really do risk assessment at all. And we don't really think about the value. We just jump into tools. But I feel like tools are, at a later stage, you need to have discussions about value, discussion about whether it's worth it, discussion about which layer we should actually even automate, and then maybe progressively go towards tools.
Yeah, some of the things you said, I think, has evoked questions from some of us. I'll let Navin go first. I also have some questions around some of the things you said. Come on, Navin. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I would like to raise one very important point. That is, fine. Automation tool is obviously the first choice, but before that, I think we should be synced with the management, with all the stakeholders, with your client, customer management. There is a return of investment or not. ROI is very important. You are not doing automation in your company for your personal growth. Just because of you're doing automation for next 6 months and 1 year, and then you will be getting a new really good package in the new company. That is the problem with the majority of the people these days. They think that, okay, I'm just learning automation or any XYZ tool or Selenium or rest assured or whatever, so that I'll get a better opportunity in the current company or maybe in the next company, because I'm not getting enough work over here. The problem is that I think you should have that maturity level, that talk to management, talk to stakeholders, talk to client. What is the return of investment that people are hiring people, good automation resources, licensing tools, and you are putting some efforts on your logistics and everything, and then spending time 2-3 days, 2-3 months on creating the framework end to end. There is a return of investment or not? So ROI is very, very important. If there is no ROI, you are not leveraging your automation. What I've seen some really, really bad practices. People are, some rock stars are there in automation team, and then they are doing automation from last 1 year. Fine. Okay, let's take 1 year. You automate 1,000 scenarios. Fine, let's do that. 70% automation, you have done it. Are you leveraging it? Are you really helping the team at the time of regression, at the time of release? Every day, back to back, we have releases. Are you supporting, your automation is supporting or not? What if your automation is failing, and automation is not finding the the errors and actual problems over there, and this your automation is totally a piece of code and just it's a garbage paper and that's it. If your automation is not working and not finding the things, the problems, and suddenly you are getting the bugs from the manual tester during the manual testing and getting the things that you already automated, and you claim that okay, no, we have already automated, and the bugs are coming from the production and from the customer, then where is the return on investment? We put 1 year on these high package salary to these people, and then very expensive licensing tool that we have given, all the different commercial tools that we have given to you, but still there is no ROI. So I think ROI is very important. Do not run behind the quantity of totals, percentage of automation test cases of good coverage that we have to achieve, and some high fundu things that we are integrating, like some really cool technologies, okay, that we are putting over there unnecessary and making it really really heavy, which is not helping you. Then there is totally wastage of time. It's when you work at the company level, please do not think at the personal things, personal growth. We have to, I think first is that or growth. That is my point actually.
All right. Thank you so much, Navin. Also, I picked up a few things from there. Uh, Funny enough, I'm the host, I'm not the panelist. So I'll let the panelists go first. And I'm going to throw some questions to you guys because I was listening to you both and picked a few things that I would like you to clarify as well. Ajay, what do you think about this?
So, with respect to challenges in picking the tool, I'd like to remind the game or the concept Chinese whispers, right? That I seem to have experienced it often in different contexts where the one who needs automation and the one who selects the tool, by the time it reaches, I mean, the person who has to pick the tool, uh, the message is so distorted. Meaning, for example, I want to solve this problem, ABC problem, and hence I think I might need a, this category of tool. Is this is the initial thought. By the time this thought reaches the person who has that final decision of picking which tool, the core message is lost. I'll give you one example. The regression suite is taking a lot of time, more 3-4 days. Wish we had a tool to automate the test data needed for this regression. No one is here talking about automating the regression in terms of execution. They are just talking, can we have a tool or a utility to automate the test data which is needed in bulk or which is needed in so much of variety that wish we had automation doing it rather than 2-3 people spending hours together to create that test data, right? Oh, then it goes to the lead. Oh, will automation help? Of course automation will help, because we need we are spending a lot of time doing this. Doing what? Generating the test data. Execution will take time. It's a given. We don't want to reduce the execution time, but we want to reduce the test data generation time. That is the actual practitioner's problem. But by the time the manager or the lead takes it to the sales team or the marketing team or whoever has to decide which tool to buy, I don't think this message is still there. They'll think, oh, automation, right? Okay, fine. Automation of what? Web. Okay. What are the top 5 tools in web automation? A, B, C, D, E. Oh, who gives me the best deal? Right? Oh, B gives me the best deal. Okay, I take this code to C. C, no. I will give you extra 2 webinar slots for you. Take C. And then I get the C. And then I realize, why is such a big tool? Why did company buy such a big tool? Are you aware of it? Is it needed? Because we never asked for a tool to automate execution. We are happy with what we are doing, the internal framework or whatever. We asked for the test data generation. Oh, we have already bought the license. We should use it. And
I
then
think
we bought this license. Why automation is not fast enough? How will it be fast? We are not solving the problem. right? So Chinese whispers, who needs versus who decides, there is a big gap. Like how Lavanya talked about collaboration, not just in working, but even during deciding also there needs to be a collaboration. And finally, there is always this time pressure. If I give you 30 minutes to pick a tool versus 3 weeks to pick a tool, the amount of research you will do, the experimentation you will do, the use cases you will try out would be different. Now, I don't always blame on the management in terms of time pressure. I would put something on the practitioners as well. How many times have you tried out different tools, even when you did not need that tool? See, we most of us try the tools when we need it. That is a very bad state to be in my opinion. You should always try out tools. You like it, don't like it, try out tools, so that by the time you need to select a tool, you already have that experience of, oh, the last time I tried A, it did, 1 2 3. The last time I tried B, it did not do 2. Let me check just that particular feature now, right? Lack of experimentation, Chinese whispers, and then people don't ask the right questions in the demo is to ask the questions, not to see what good the product can do, that you can find out on their website or through a trial. Which demo provider, I'll stop with this, which demo provider tells my tool fails in these conditions? Zero. Right?
Yeah.
So be honest, no, be honest, tell in these conditions this tool will not work, but in these conditions it will work. With that confidence, I will buy the tool more compared to saying my tool is the best in the world. Big problem.
Okay. I think a lot of people would
Now I
agree
think
with
Lavanya
all of
raised
the.
hand when you were seeing down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to talk about, like, since he was mentioning about the price cost of the tool and buying tools, one thing that I feel we should also keep in mind is, if our company buys a tool, right, we've already invested so much, like, money for the tool. So then after buying, it's going to be very difficult to just discard it because it doesn't do certain things that we want it to do. So if we're actually buying, then it probably makes it even more important for us to sort of know what it can do and cannot do upfront. And I guess it has to be like a push from the team as well, right? It has to be like, we need to speak about it as well.
Yeah. I'll go to five now, but before I do that, I just want to say what to summarize what I just said. If all of those things happen, and they do happen all the time, the automation becomes the project, not a solution to the problem of the project. So you have people, a whole team around the automation itself to make the automation work. They are not particularly adding any value to the initial problem anymore. Faiz, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so I would, so I first of all I agree with all what all of you have said, and I would like to add that the regarding project thing. So I think the first or the most major risk is that many a times people do not consider automation itself as a project. So people need to realize that whatever project is going on, whatever app we are developing, that is also a project. You can maybe say it's a like very big project, but then automation is also a big project. It may be smaller than that project, but it is definitely a big project. And like you are doing proper planning, you are doing risk assessment, and you are thinking what can go wrong and all those things. So you have to do it for automation as well. You have to do it on a regular basis. The risk what I see is that most of the time people like start automating things, but they do not have that kind of long term vision. They do not think like what will happen and how they will sustain at this pace and likewise. So they just start doing automation, then they will think like, okay, we will see whatever will happen. Also because of that, whatever happens is sometimes things go in the right way also, but after, let's say, the product has automation has reached 80 or 90%, they will be like, oh, it is like good, now we are 80 90%, now we are good to go. Then some change request comes from client, And most of the time automation, mostly people are, so like many people are now having that awareness and are emphasizing on API automation as well, but most of the time still it's mainly emphasizing on the UI side. So whenever a change request comes, so that whole things does not it becomes useless. Means many of the, let's say if a core feature is changed, and let's say the heart of the product is changed, the UI of that heart of the product is changed, then boom, then almost all of the automation gets becomes useless. And then once again you have to go through all that cycle, and management will also think like that, that what is the use of the automation. The people who have worked with the worked in building the automation, they will also feel disheartened that we had put in this much efforts and now it's not being used. The people who may not be part of the automation team, they would also think like, what the thing these guys were doing means, if they have done so many things, why can't we use it? So these kind of risks are there. So people need to think in long term perspective, that that whenever they are selecting tools and all those things, so need to think from long term perspective, that what will be sustainable, or how will they get the best of the automation. And one of the other challenges which I think is that sometimes people have that unrealistic expectation that one can learn a new tool or new language in like this amount of days. So I think that's also one of the risks that people need to consider. So yeah, I think these are the two risks I can say related to
So,
automation.
so I've taken the point from everybody. I want to play the devil's advocate here, and I'll give you a sentence to respond to what I'm about to say. So, there's something that a lot of people do overlook when it comes to automation and using it. I'm talking about general automation itself, not a particular tool or anything. Does it matter that our line of thought or how we learned or our previous experience of using that tool in a particular situation, does it matter that it might not apply in what we're trying to use it for now? Thinking about what I just said, should we not think about should there be a gap between what we're trying to do now, or how you know what the tool does, or what the automation itself, or what this framework does? Does that matter at all? Anyway, I'll go now first.
I think, Tipur, I didn't get your question properly. Like maybe some voice breaking.
Yeah,
Is me.
so I'm saying, say for example, I've used a tool on a particular project before,
Mhm.
maybe 2 years ago, and then you are running a project, which is not exactly the same kind of project that I used the tool for, you know. But all of a sudden, I'm in front of you. You're about to offer me the job with some other guys. Does it matter that, hang on a minute, let me look at the mindset? All right, that's it, mindset of this guy, because he's obviously used this before. Does it matter that I understand the concept, the situation we are in now relative to what he is bringing to the table? Do we consider those kind of challenges at all?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like your previous experience matters a lot. You have done some kind of automation and things in your previous project, and that you got some experience over there. And then, but every project is different. Every project is having different problems, right? So you cannot say that absolutely right. I have seen people that they are coming from different companies and they were having different problems to solve the problem. I mean, to solve that particular problem, they were using a different set of tech stack and different set of tools. And then they come with experience. We have to use their experience instead of implementing the unnecessary things that, okay, no, that we should not enforce that, okay, this is what exactly I was doing in my previous company or his previous project. But let's try to understand the product first. What exactly the problem we are facing here? What kind of situation we have? Do we really have budget? Do we really have test cases to automate, and it's really needed or not? Or management is ready or not? Do we have any such bandwidth or not? That is very important. I think
Yeah,
first to understand the situation, what exactly the things are happening in the current project, current team with the current management, and then take a decision and then use your experience. Experience matters a lot, no doubt about it. That you have already learned, implemented things. That's why like all the we say in the dev architect people also, they have a lot of experience in their bucket, and that's why they try to solve the problem. Some really really critical problem they solve with their experiences. They have seen such kind of problems in their earlier projects in earlier companies. That's why they are now, if they stuck somewhere, definitely we can use their experiences, no doubt about it. Yeah.
Thank you, Navin. That's the point I was trying to make. The experience, the chat, the conversation. Ajay, what can you add to that in a sentence? Because I want to move on to my next question. So I'll give you all a sentence to add to what Navin just said.
How many times have you failed before? Use that experience in the current project.
Good. I like that. I like that a lot. A lot of people don't consider failure as part of the process. Like I say to people, you don't fail if you keep going. So you just use that one that it doesn't work to keep going until it works. Um, Five, your
Yeah.
turn. Give me a statement, just one. What do you think
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, so if I try to summarize it, tell it in one sentence, yeah, it of course matters because the underlying, can I say, the technology or how the things work, it remains almost the same across all the tools, right? Means, for example, if it is the web related tool, so the fundamentals like how to locate element or some things like that, so some of the things remain consistent. So if you have those kind of fundamentals clear, then definitely those that kind of experience comes handy. And also, if it is the same tool or like same, let's say you are once again, you previously worked on XYZ tool and now you are also working on that, so the kind of challenges which you have faced, you can use that kind of the learnings which you got from that challenges, and you can implement. So yeah, definitely matters.
All right. Thank you. Lavanya, closing statement on the question from you.
Use the learnings you have from your previous experiences, but don't be fixated on trying to do the exact same thing on a different project because it may not work. So be open to trying different things as well and understanding the problems better.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. So, my next question is around automation framework. Okay. I'm not particularly looking at any framework or any tool. Let's generalize this. Automation, we have to set up framework. Some people know how to do it from scratch. Some people know how to maintain it. Some people don't know anything about it at all. So, what sort of challenges have you seen or come across around automation frameworks? How to set it up, how to maintain it, how to build it from scratch, or what you inherited, how to, what sort of challenges would you think around automation frameworks? Lavanya, I'll come to you.
Okay. Um, what I feel is that, like a lot of times, what I've seen is we either have like all code in just maybe one file or just way too many abstractions. It's like two extremes, right? And what I feel is it's probably because we look at some tutorials online and then try to just follow that just like that, right? Without thinking about maintaining it in the future or without thinking about readability of code. And I feel like that's one thing that we need to focus on. So treat your automation suite as a production app and try to make it more readable, try to make it maintainable. And what I feel is, okay, so if we are actually starting to do our framework from scratch, what I would like is to solve problems when you face them. Like, don't try too much at the beginning itself. Because I've been in part of a project where I myself am guilty of that, right? We thought that we would need, this kind of, I don't know, like capability in the future, and we just did too much, so much that it was almost not readable for any new person who joined, right? So it shouldn't go to that other extreme as well. So I feel like when you face some challenges or when you feel like some things need improvement, you could also refer to great frameworks that are available. So there's maybe Arjuna, there's Tesla, there are like already so many frameworks available. So take inspiration from that and then try to improve step by step. And also improving is like a constant thing, so we have to keep doing it every time we touch the code, uh, and just always think about readability and maintainability. I think that would help in the long run.
Okay, thank you very much. Navin?
Yeah, so I think I agree with Lavanya. Absolutely right. And in fact, I have done some mistakes in my previous companies. but from last couple of years I really met really good people. So what exactly my preference is always teapot, that when you are working at the org level, right, or you always think about the generic framework level concept, like core automation framework concept. For example, let's say there is a company and there are 20 teams are there, for example, and everybody is having different frameworks, in their org. Okay, let's team A is having using Cucumber with Java, team B is using Python with Python with Selenium or something like this, team C is using something else, and then D is using something else, just because of they prefer that or whatever. Okay, and then have never thought about it. Okay, what will happen when we move to the next level? Do we have any org level community or kind of stuff over there or not? So I think, according to me, when you are going with at least a big org companies, where really good product companies, or let's say, or any good service based company where we have specific BU, and a specific BU specific TCOE should be there, test automation center of excellence should be there, to design such frameworks, to do some research and development on the frameworks, and give this thing, from their side to the entire team, to the different team members, that okay, yeah, we are on the common tech stack over here. If we are using Cypress, okay, let's use Cypress. Then we are using Selenium with Java, let's use Selenium with Java. We will give you the core libraries, which is available on the Nexus location. You download that and then add it in your Maven dependency and start using it, like that. So, and then any kind of enhancements are coming in future, we will, it's my responsibility as a COE person. I'll go to each and every team member, maybe bi-weekly meeting or a monthly meeting, what are the challenges that you guys are facing in your project, so that I can implement in that particular library. From our side, we will do that. This will be the sprint task for me. This will be the complete task for me, as a, in the complete sprint, and then we will design a sprint like that from there, as an automation COE point of view. I think that's very, very important thing, according to me. Maybe in some company it's not a good solution. People say that, okay, no, we really want the liberty. I want to work with Cucumber, and then, but some people, they say that, okay, fine, I want to use Cucumber, and you're not using any BDD process over there, and still you're using Cucumber. Who will take care of the feature files and all those things? Cucumber is not BDD, right? We have to understand that Cucumber, JBehave, these are not BDD. If you're following certain processes, don't go just for the sake of doing it. Don't go for that. I think big org level, we should have a common umbrella. Under that umbrella, we should provide the library. This is for API framework, this is for mobile framework, this is for UI automation framework, and then give it to the teams and start using it. I think that will be the we can like do a lot of good stuff over there. We can minimize the task. And another problem, I'll tell you, most important thing will happen when someone is leaving the company, and he is the only person who actually designed the entire framework and only specific that particular team, and he's leaving, and you don't have any other resource to work upon that, and this entire effort is totally wasted from last 2 years, and you are not getting enough person also in the market, so that who can work on that particular framework. But if you have a common automation library in your in your organization, definitely some other person can pitch in, and then because they have already seen the common automation framework over there. Okay, that's fine, you guys are using these certain libraries, let's start using that. So for as a new person within the company, it will take less amount of time to understand the framework, as compared to you are hiring a new guy, and then the entire 2 years of efforts totally wasted. So I think that was another important point I think of it.
I think what a lot of people miss out in what you're saying is the responsibility bit, Naveen, because a lot of people don't consider the responsibility bit.
Mhm.
When we fail to consider the responsibility bit, we end up in the situation you've just described, where the guy who designed the frameworks just left, and all of a sudden we are all adrift. There's nothing else. We don't have anything. We don't know anything. Um, those kind of challenges could be mitigated at the beginning if people take responsibility, just like you said. Thank you so much for that.
One last point
Go
I'll
on.
tell you, that as Lavanya mentioned, that you should take as a, as your automation framework as a live production app, just like a dev team is taking it. Absolutely agree with that point, because you are responsible for that particular automation framework, and then you have to deliver. So you should have that sense of responsibility, that yes, this I should treat as, because I have customer, I have the client within the company, they are going to use that particular product. So when you have this mindset with respect to automation, then I think you will achieve the good results, definitely, with this approach.
Okay, thank you so much, Ajay. What sort of challenges do you perceive around frameworks and how it's maintained or how it's built on all of them?
Right. So, with my limited experience of writing or building a framework, but then little more experience compared to writing, but little more experience in working with people who handle automation code, right? I would tell three things. The third point got added after Naveen spoke. The first point is very few people can confidently or courageously say, I don't know. Because they don't tell that, the whole team assumes that everyone knows everything and then everyone fall together in the trap. It's okay to not know stuff. Why are we so scared to admitting it? Point one. As long as you can learn it, you should not worry about telling that you don't know, right? Second, multiple people solving the same problem differently and again not sharing with each other, which would have got solved like how Naveen talked about TCOE, right? For automation. Oh, you also did that. I also did that. Now I will not let go of my code or my work because I have spent effort. You will also not let go. Now both of us will use it, and then we both will get out of that project. The third person will come and say, why for the same problem there are two solutions? Happens. And the third, if the foundations of testing is right, then you would not get into majority of these problems. Organizing, communication, thinking, collaboration, thinking through, thinking through the next logical question, trying out, experimenting in bits and pieces rather than taking the whole bite at a single time. These small, small factors, which in your initial years you paid a lot of attention to, and suddenly when you became that senior or into you got into that automation team or an automation engineer tag, you forgot the basics, and then you say automation doesn't solve problems. Of course it will solve, but then if you forget the fundamentals, how will it solve?
I picked something there. You know the bit about people not saying I don't know. I sometimes I wonder why. Sometimes I kind of think in my head that it's kind of cultural to some people to not admit that they don't know something, and then everyone works on assumption that Ajay knows, Naveen knows, or Faiz knows, whereas none of us knows. And as testers, one thing I don't encourage is assumption. We don't assume stuff. We try stuff. That's why we test things. We don't assume. It's not our job to assume, and that challenge is real because everywhere you go, every project you come across it almost on daily basis, thinking, oh, but one of my managers asked one day that how many of you have actually stood up and said, who here has done this before? Because I haven't. And then we all kept quiet, like, why would I ask that in a place of work? And why would I want everybody to know? You see what I'm saying? So that is real. Is actually it's common. It's actually very common that a lot of people would not admit that they don't know something. They would rather spend the whole night trying to figure it out or trying to learn it than saying, I don't know. Do you know who knows or who can teach me? That is a very, very good point. And it's something a lot of people struggle with. I'm happy that IJ put it out there. And thank you so much for that. Faiz, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so first of all, I agree with all what everyone has said. I think one of the challenges is that people do not miss. And I'm not saying it's an easy thing. It's itself is a challenge that what you do, how you do your automation framework. I mean to say that we do not engineer those things. Sometimes in trying to make things simpler, they do not. They kind of forget about the maintainability or long-term sustainability. So to have a right balance between it's not over-engineered, but it's a I can say a robust or maintainable framework. So that is I think one challenge. Another challenge is that that for any application, so sometimes people are doing UI and API automation both. So sometimes sometimes it can be possible to combine some of the things to that you can maybe do the bare minimum to identify the what kind of test you should do it at the API layer, or what kind of test you should do at the UI layer. Those kind of things are also one of the challenge. And sometimes it also happens that it's that it so that is also one of the challenge, that people do not know or are not able to identify properly that what kind of logic they should handle via API. So it would save their time, and it would be like more, I guess, more robust than relying on the UI. So these are the, I think, challenges. So if people have such kind of clarity or vision, so it's like kind of kind of extreme opposite. But first you need to have a whole 360-degree view, that for this application what will be the best approach, what will be like. You have to think from all the aspects. You have to think from aspects like sustainability, long term maintainability, if any changes are coming, likewise, so on and so forth. And then once you have that long term vision or plan, then you have to address it step by step. So you have to combine both these things. If you have not planned it properly, then you can also miss out. Or if let's say you have planned, you are trying to achieve everything at the same time, then it will also become messy. So those kind of challenges, I think, are there in related to the automation frameworks.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. My challenge is this, and I'll say it, and I'll let you guys address my challenge. Okay. Um, Most of the time, I've come across projects where people believe that the moment we get automation in, all of us have suddenly become magicians. Um, and I try to tell them, no, we are not magicians. We are testers. Well, the moment they put money or spend money on something, they expect you to turn around the following day, and all they want to hear is we're good, it's passed, everything is working, we're good to go. Basically, that's the bottom line. Now, this is the challenge in reality, because a lot of people don't consider the reality. In reality, if you have a team of people that is experienced in the tool that you bought for them, that knows and understand what they are supposed to do, they can't turn around the following day and tell you we are good to go. Okay, so my challenge is, how do we fit in the reality into the automation space to let people know that, listen, yes, you bought the tool, yes, you brought all of the guys in, yeah, everybody's, we're good to go from the automation setup, strategy plan, and all of that. But the reality is, we can't turn around the next minute and tell you, yes, we can deploy now. So how do we manage that reality bit? Because it seems to me to be missing from a lot of people's radar to know it's not enough that I'm giving you the money and the tool and everything. The reality is, we have to understand the concept. We have to understand how to make it work. We have to understand what exactly we're doing, the scope of it, the extent we're going, and all of that. How do you see the reality challenging this, Ajay?
So again, back to the basics. When people, when they face the challenges, if they don't tell it out, it is very difficult to solve them, irrespective of the type of challenge. And we humans are much better in communication now, but then the problems will continue to be there, right? Uh, as long as we don't get better at expressing what we want and then highlighting the risks as soon as we face it or we anticipate that risk, we will continue to face the problems irrespective of the advances in automation or automation tools or the industry in general. Right? So I'm sorry to give you a very short answer, but then this would be the reality.
You've actually answered the question. I don't think it's a long answer, but that's I would expect something in that regard. I see Naveen jumping up on the scene. He's about to burst our bubble. Come on, Naveen, burst the bubble for us.
Hello,
Go
can you
on.
hear me?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you now.
See, the main thing, as Ajay said, that absolutely very short answer, but very crisp answer. But it's absolutely agree with that. That First analyze the all the risk factors over there. Whenever, as you said that, okay, the with respect to automation, analyze that. And as Faiz also mentioned, that the failure rates coming in future, and then are you really leveraging your automation with respect to that area or not? And then you're getting a lot of failures, and that is not at all a successful criteria in that case. And then it's totally wastage of time, wastage of money, and wastage of resources. So that is what I feel. And another point I would say, that start at the right time, start at the not too early and not too late. That is again, like some people, they say application is still under development, and then you started writing automation, and because it's a very fancy thing these days, and then management is also expecting, okay, let's start automation from the first day. That is again a very big problem. That is like, start at the right time, whenever it's required, whenever you feel that, okay, now it's taking a lot of time to check all the things. Application is getting bigger and bigger, a lot of components are getting added, a lot of features are getting added, product is really having a really heavy customer base, and then I think it's time to automate couple of things which can be automated. Then you start thinking and then implement the things at the right time with respect to automation. I think that is one of the factor most of the people, they don't follow, and then they just start randomly doing automation. So I'll put one more point later on. I have a couple of things like I really want to put over there, but that is a short answer from my side.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Navin. I'm conscious of time, so I would link in my next question today, so the guys, you can just attend to both at the same time. So, from what Navin just said, when we come to the point of automating tests or checks, what sort of things do we think about? What sort of parameters do we look at to go, right, we need to automate these checks, we need to not automate this? What sort of challenges do you see around knowing when, what to automate? Now, Lavanya, you go at it. Have a go at it. What, look at the situation where we've gone through the framework, we've selected the tool, we know we now have the team in place now, we've been doing the project, we are at a point where we now need to decide, what do we automate? How do you go about it?
So first thing with that, right? I think one thing that we should all understand is this automation, like checking that we do, is just a subset of testing, right? And checking is basically just, in some sense, confirming things that we already know. So let's say that we change the application. The only information that we get with our automated test is that the things that we knew were working in a certain way continue to work in that same way or not. Right? It's not really giving us any more additional information. So I feel like that's the first thing that we need to keep in mind when we even think about what to check and what not to. Right? And actually, I just want to make I have a slightly different perspective from what Naveen said about when to start automation. I feel when we start developing code, at least unit tests can still, happen, right? It needs to start at that point. I mean, if people are not doing TDD, fine, but at least unit testing would still happen at that time. And whether we add UI level checks or not could be another discussion. And I keep telling like discussion very often, right? I really believe in collaboration because we will understand the value of our checks only if we maybe discuss, right? Because let's say that we are building some component and uh, we are discussing whether we want to actually add a UI level check for that or not. And maybe somebody has a better input. They say, hey, you know what? All these different combinations we can check in the lower level test. At the UI, maybe we could have this one integration test just to ensure that this field is coming up or not. So when we have that kind of a discussion, we will know what checks we can do at what levels and where they'll give the maximum value. So I feel conversations can just always happen, and then with that, right, we learn. So some people look at the product, I mean, from code perspective. Some people look at it from user perspective. And when we have all these different perspectives, we understand what is important to check, and we can focus on those areas. And also, of course, we can discuss where it should be checked in the first place. So I think, approach it like that. Yeah, sorry, Naveen, you have something to say.
No, no, please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I would just approach it like that. Discussions would definitely help to understand where what checks should go.
Yeah. I don't think people would disagree with all you said. Price, what can you add to that?
Yeah. So what we need to automate, I think. So as Lavanya said that we can automate some of the like more complex tests on the lower layer. So that's absolutely fine. But apart from that, when we try to automate, so I think what people need to focus on, that's my perspective. I might be wrong, but that the what so we have to evaluate what value we are getting, means what are the tests which will give us a maximum value. For example, it's obvious, like means so whenever we are starting, like whenever we are starting automation, so we are starting, so there is no automation there first of all. So whenever we progress further, so step by step we will increase the amount of tests which are automated. So we should first understand that what kind of tests we need to automate first, which will give the maximum value. It can be from maybe functional perspective or business perspective, maybe time perspective. So it's kind of, and as Lavana said, it should be a collaborative decision, that we should not, like, let's say, uh, I should not like decide like from type, hey, it will save my time. So it would be like a decision which involves all the stakeholders, that we are going to automate this much, these many test cases first. Why? Because this is the reason, because it will save us time, or they are more important from business perspective, or it can be combination of both, or likewise. So we have to do it in that manner, that whatever gives the best value, or we should automate that. And what I believe is that, so sometimes sometimes there are some test cases which are giving us very high value, but they are complex in nature, because of the kind of things which are being used in the application, so it's difficult to automate. So I'm not saying we should ignore that completely, but you should you need to set a certain amount of time limit there. Let's say if we will target this in first sprint, so let's say if for this particular test case we will try, let's say, up to maybe 3 hours, for example. And if it's not working, then we can maybe take it up later on the next sprint. So those kind of things also needs to be, I think, taken care of when try to automate, whether this is possible to automate or not. And plus, one another thing is that how many times, because sometimes there is some too much complex test case, but it is not necessary to you know uh, run it each and every time. It is maybe once in a while kind of scenario, something like that. So if it is such the case, then you need to think that the time or amount which you will be time or efforts which you will be investing to automate that test case, it would be really worth it. Let's say if you are saving, let's say you are putting in, let's say, 10 days of effort to automate that one test case, and you need to execute that test case maybe 12 times in a year. And by executing it, let's say you may need only, so by executing it 12 times, you need only, let's say, one working day time. So then in that scenario, I think you need to think that investing 10 days to have this automated, it's not fruitful. Yeah, if it's a very long term project, and if you think that maybe after 15-20 years also it will be sustainable, then it's okay, then you can go for it. So those kind of things, I think, one need to consider when one tries to automate tests. Yeah.
I do have a simple test I apply to my decision to automate tests. And I'm going to say it to you guys. Let me know what you think about it. When I'm trying to decide what to automate, I apply the question to all of the automation checks or all of the test cases that we have. Do we know the behavior of this function or test case or whatever it is? If we can say yes, we know what the behavior of that should be, I would put that forward as a candidate for automation because we already know what the behavior should be. Do you think that is correct? Do you think that's right? Is that a right way to go about it? Because I do that a lot. What do you think? Ajay, go on.
It's a part of the answer.
Okay.
Because, for example, I understand what you're trying to say by saying if we know the behavior, good. There is nothing more to maybe find out about the product in that particular test. So, good. Yeah, we know. But should it be automated? There is one more question you need to ask. Just because
Okay.
it can be automated, it should not, it need necessarily, it should not be automated. Right?
Okay.
Can be automated is different from should be automated. Many things can be automated, but is it necessary to automate them? That we need to check, right? And while you are discussing, I had this question: when should we charge our mobile phone using a power bank? whatever you answer, similarly replace that phone with product and power bank with automation. Both would be the similar answers. Just because you have power bank, you shouldn't charge your phone all the time using power bank, right? Similarly, think through. Sometimes discussions happen within ourselves after all of this panel discussion happens. It is not necessary that immediately we should know the answer, or there is no time to even think through, right? It's okay. Take note, remind yourself, and then go think through. Even I will go think through. Okay, thank you.
I like that analogy a lot. Uh, I don't know how to express my feeling when you said, "Can we do it? Should we do it?" You see, funny, a lot of people don't look at those two questions. We tend to go, "Yes, we have the capability to do it. Do it." Before we finish saying the sentence that, "Oh, we've got the tool, we do it." Should we do it? Would it have any value? Those are questions we should ask a lot. Thank you so much, guys. I have one. I've been following the questions. I've been looking at the questions. I don't want us to go down into a particular tool or a particular language or framework. I want us to talk generally about automation. But something keep popping up on the questions about codeless tools and how to do codeless tools. My perception is there's no such thing as codeless tools. You might not interact with the code, but everything, all the tools they have backend code. So there's no such things as codeless tools. You might not interact with the code level of the tool, but there's this saying that codeless tools would they make automation easier, they make automation quicker. If I give you a minute each to talk about that, what would you say about it? Does that really make sense? Is that true? I'll start with Lavanya. Go on. Is that what do you think about codeless tools?
Honestly, I have not really used codeless tools yet, so I might not be the right person to answer this question. Uh, but I feel like the market for this codeless tool is sort of driven by because of a lot of fear that people have in in code itself, right? And I feel like people can still learn, right? I mean, sometimes to me it feels like the fear sort of makes them take an easier route. Uh, but but honestly, I don't have a lot of experience with codeless tools, so I might not be the right person to comment on this.
So you've actually answered it. You've talked about fear, fear of coding, fear of learning how to code have driven us to a point where we are looking for easy solutions, and then codeless tools start popping up every now and then. Naveen, you've seen a lot of these tools. You've probably accessed most or hundreds and hundreds of them. So what's your opinion on this? Codeless tools making life easy and all of that.
Yeah, first of all, I'm a big support for open source and writing the code and developing the libraries and designing the framework from the scratch and involved at the architect level, or because I personally coming from that background, and that's why like that's my personal opinion. But what I see the trend from last couple of years that there are certain codeless tool, for example, like testim.io, and then somewhere test project also trying to achieve in a similar boat, and then we have reflect, and then certain tools are coming, and they are getting fundings. The VCs are behind them. They are getting millions of funding. So there is a reason behind that. They have seen the potential somewhere. So we have already spent 10 to 15 years in the industry with respect to automation. Selenium is more than around 11 plus or 12 plus years. I think in 2007 or 8 Selenium came. So more than 13, 14 years in the market, and still people are struggling to learn with respect to automation, designing the code. So I think with respect to their opinion, could be possible that okay, we can provide certain solutions to certain level of people, maybe maybe BA, or maybe product owner. They really want to quickly do some sanity check. They really want to quickly automate 20 to 30 test cases, and they really want to do a demo, and then and they don't have any budget to hire a very expensive guy in market having having full-fledged knowledge on frameworks and Selenium and all such things. We really don't have budget, so maybe we can get certain tools, $100 per month, or or for 3 months or something like this. Let's try to automate quick things and then let's do that. So I think it depends on what kind of use case that you have. But you're designing something at a big shot and then contributing towards 20 teams in your company in India, in Singapore, or in US, and then a lot of people, they are going to use that particular library. So I think it's not a right decision to take certain tools or go behind certain tools. I think every tool is having their own certain strengths. People are doing a lot of stuff with respect to machine learning and artificial intelligence, and automatically locator will be adjusted and it will fix the problem on the fly whenever there are changes in the UI or page objects getting changed or something like this. People are doing that. People are putting a lot of efforts in that particular area, and then if that codeless automation tool is giving certain things and fulfilling those things within the budget, and definitely there is no problem with that, I think, with those tools. But there are other tools which they claim that we all know that, okay, Selenium came into the picture when with the record and play. If you know that Selenium IDE, the first component they released in 2008, that was a Firefox plugin and they released with record and play. That time we never thought, okay, they will create RC or WebDriver later on, and such a nice library they will be creating it. And still people are using IDE. And still I've seen people that at that time also, that people are using some amazing JavaScript plugins that they created, and they imported those plugins with IDE and they were using for their entire framework, especially for Sanity and for small level of automation test suite they were having. I think for that purpose, it could be used definitely for that.
Thank you so much, Naveen. There's a lot in what you said. I think a lot of people will listen to this again to actually get the full weight of what you said there. Ajay, what do you think about these codeless tools and the noise about how they're gonna make life easy and stuff?
Okay, in the interest of time, I'll speak at 1.25x speed. Principle of least regret. What do you regret the least? The feature wise, codeless tools can do few things, cannot do few things. What do you want? Right? And then everything has a trade off. If you build your own framework, yeah, you have more freedom, I would believe. But whereas if you go with someone else tool or like codeless tool, this is the thing. Now, as Lavanya told about the easier route, again, I want to ask the question: how much are you running, a sprint or a marathon? If a marathon, you will not worry that it takes 8 months to learn a particular language. If you are in a sprint, that in this 2 months I have to learn something and then quit, then of course you will run for the shortcuts, which might help in near future, but then in the long term, it will do more damage. I'm still learning Java, right? But then I'm consistently learning Java. Every day I'm improving. Maybe not like 10% or 50%, but okay, at least 0.01% I'm improving, right? And with the real-time projects experience, I'm learning. So think short term, long term, easy, tougher. What do you want, right? So codeless, yes, trade off, and principle of least regret. What do you regret the least? Follow that.
Thank you, Ajay. Last word from you, Faiz, quickly. You have a minute.
Yeah. So to summarize, first of all, I agree with what all have said. Second, I think what I have seen, the codeless automation tool have gone through a very long journey and very miss. So when I started my career, at that point of time, tools were there, codeless, but they were like still, I can say that maybe maybe were still like like a newborn baby. But now they have also like matured over time a lot, but still, as I agree with all have said. If I can summarize it in short, then it would be like, are you dealing with a nail or are you dealing with a screw? So if you are dealing with a nail, you need a hammer. If you are dealing with a screw, you need a screwdriver. So it depends upon your use case and other things. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. I've seen a few comments and questions from the people watching. Thank you, Stephen, for stating that automation is less about the tool and it's more about the result. I can use a lot of different words to add to the result. Like make sure that your automation is providing solution to your problem, is not replacing your problem. Make sure that you're achieving your objectives. Thank you so much, guys. I really enjoyed the conversation with you on this Chatterbox episode. I promise not to take your time, and I think I'm just 4 minutes over the time you allocated to me. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Until the next time, is the end of the conversation for us here. This conversation, of course, continue in the test chat group. If you're a member of the group, you would know that definitely this is not the end of it. The guys in the group would continue this, so you can join us at the test chat group. But on this occasion, it's goodbye from all of us here. Thank you so much, Ajay. Thank you, Lavanya. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you, Faiz. Until the next time, guys, thank you so much and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
Thank you,
joining.
everyone. Bye bye.